In our previous video we have written code examples with generics and without. By this moment we already understand the need of generics in Java and what benefits they bring to us. If you have not yet watched the previous video, I would recommend getting familiar with it first. Further, in our lessons we are going to use specific terms. If you are not familiar with them, I propose to review them and get understanding about what they are. It's okay. Let's start. Generic types. These are classes or interfaces whose declaration consists of single or multiple parameters. From the left side, we have list of E. List in this case followed by pair of angel brackets, and between these brackets we have type parameter, which is E in this specific case. It also might be called list of E. This is generic type. In the middle, we have parameterized type. Each generic type defines a set of parameterized types. When we invoke a generic type from the left side, we create a parameterized type. Parameterized types are also name of classes or interfaces followed by a pair of angel brackets. When we pass the argument into pair of angel brackets, in this case it's a string, this part is called parameterized type. And from the right side we have raw types. Each generic type also defines a set of raw types. A raw type is the name of generic class or interface without any type arguments. Let's go back to our non-generic code example and let's switch to integrated development environment. If you look into non-generic code class at line number 8, you will notice that we use raw list of type. An integrated development environment shows us a warning that raw use of parameterized class is being used in the code. In our previous lecture it was mentioned, nowadays raw types are supported only due to legacy reasons. Right now it's not recommended to use raw types since you will lose such benefits as type safety and will need to use explicit casting. At the same time, if you use raw types in your code, the compiler will generate warnings like we see on line number 8. Let's switch back to the slides. Parameters and arguments. Whenever you define a method, from the left side we have method definition. You might whenever you define a method, you might define parameter. Whenever you call a method, you pass already argument. With generics we have very similar approach. Whenever we define a generic method, you have type parameter. And when we call this method, then we pass type argument. From the left side, we see example of parameters and arguments. From the right side, we have example with data class which accepts type parameter. And when we invoke this class, in that case, we pass integer as type argument. And the whole structure, data, angel brackets, integer, is called parameterized type. Okay? Let's get familiar with naming conventions. In our previous video, we already see E as a type parameter name. Let's get familiar with other types as well. So the first letter is E, and this actually can be used for elements, and it is specifically used in all collection classes. If you plan to create your own collection, you can use E as the name of your type parameter. Next is key and V. These two comes together and usually used in map. Key represents key and V represents value stored in the map interface. N is used for numbers. So if you're going to design a class or interface which will deal only with numbers, you can use N as a type parameter. T, this is type parameter, and it's used in case if you design your own generic class, and it refers to any type in Java language. If you have multiple type parameters, the second, third, and fourth type parameters are usually called S, U, and V. Okay? So, what we have learned today? Today we compare generic types, parameterized type, and raw type. Understood the difference between these terms. Further, we compared and realized the difference between parameters, arguments, and type parameters, type arguments. And the last but not least, we got understanding what are the common letters which are used in Java generics.